Veronica Belmont from Mahalo Daily. If you're anything like me, you spend probably about 90% of your day sitting in a chair, typing at your computer, and as you know, that's not always so great on your back and your posture. Generally just doesn't feel very good. Well, I'm here with Denise Kaufman, and she's going to tell us a lot about how this posture can do a lot to help you out in the long run. So why am I squatting like this?
We are squatting like this because this range of motion, where your femur is close to your rib cage, is what I would call the lost range of motion in our culture.
I've recently got back from Japan, and as you know, they have a lot of squat toilets there. And that's not something that we're too familiar with, at least in America and Western culture. And why is that so difficult for us?
We lost it because we were born into a culture where there's furniture. And so we sit most of the time in chairs. Even if we're at a dining room table, in a car, at a computer, sitting at a desk, we're still in basically the same position, which is a sort of 90-degree angle between the femur and the rib cage. So this is your femur, right? So right now you're in a much deeper flexed position than the normal shape that we sit in.
Right.
In cultures where people squat, they don't have back trouble. They give birth easily. They don't have varicose veins, all kinds of ills that come. I think Galen Krantz, who wrote the book The Chair, says that $70 billion a year is lost in our country to back pain. And I would assert that squatting, giving up our squatters' rights, is really the source of that ill, of those ills.
So I noticed that you're in a much deeper squat than I can actually get myself into. So will this improve over time, or is this just the way I am, or how can I make myself more comfortable in this position?
Well, first of all, you might want to get a blanket or a towel under your heels, because squatting requires a certain amount of flexion in the ankle joint. Some people have that, some don't. Sometimes it comes back if we've lost it. So you want to give yourself a little lift there so you can, does that feel more comfortable now?
Yeah.
And another thing, you might want to put something under your buttocks to start.
Oh, I like that. That's like sitting.
Yeah. So you're not 90 degrees femur to spine, but you're not the very deepest you could be, but you're working your way toward it. Which is great.
How are people different in their skeletal structure that will kind of affect how they can squat or sit or stretch?
Everyone's bones are shaped differently, and it's ultimately the shape of the bones, particularly in this conversation, the bones of the way the acetabulum or the socket and the head of the femur fit together, the angle of the socket, the angle of the neck of the femur, all of those things determine how your hips articulate. Ultimately, with every joint, there are limits. So exploring our limits, going to them, not hurting ourselves in the process, but keeping our mobility, that's what we want.
So we're so used to sitting in chairs and kind of getting away from that whole basic instinct to sit in a squatting position. How can we kind of bring ourselves back to that?
I think we just lower our tables. We want to really, as much as possible, make nice comfy carpets and places to sit, and we want to start to lower ourselves back into the earth.
So if you see me doing this, just join me. Don't worry about it. It's definitely a good way to be. Well, thank you so much for showing me this. I'm Veronica Belmont. I'll see you next time.